Hey Kings, Dragons, Dragon King 551 here, and we are doing another type of video. This one is obviously about the 12-team expansion here, guys. So as you can see, I got some notes here that I am going to talk about the 12-team college football playoff expansion and leading into everything. So first thing is first is I want to talk about the conference concerns that a lot of people are having with TCU, teams, leaving USC, UCLA, and talking about why Ohio State got in, but USC didn't. And let's talk about those four teams first. So, under no circumstances do I hate that Michigan and Ohio State could have a national championship being played in any of those circumstances. I think it'd be cool to have like a Big Ten championship environment in LA and them playing, such as we had the SEC championship rematch of Georgia and Bama last year. But there were a lot of communications and a lot of committee bias and stuff. A lot of people didn't want to see Alabama and Georgia play each other again in a semifinal game, and that's why they did the same thing with TCU and Ohio State. But let's explain why. Personally, from my aspect, I think Michigan should have been one last year over Bama, is because both teams gave up 30 points. Michigan only had one loss going into that game, into the Big Ten championship. They won 42-3, gave up 3 points, where Georgia and Bama were giving up 30 plus points to one another, and that game went down to the wire. Obviously, Alabama got blown out in the national championship game, but that was a problem. Now, let's talk about TCU and let's talk about their concerns. So, first off, TCU is 12 and 0, and they go into a conference championship game. Now, they go into that conference championship game regardless if they lose or win, they're most likely going to be in. Remember, they haven't lost any of the games and stuff. So, it's a high probability that they'll go in. The thing is that they have to play one more game than Ohio State. They have to go try to be 13 and 0. And ultimately, you get that team where they go in and they lose. And this is where I've explained time and time again that in my strength of schedule video, guys, I explained where it's like, does a conference championship matter, or can you lose a couple of games and stuff? And the thing is that you can lose 2 or 3 games in the regular season come this 12-team expansion, where you can make it. Now, my cousin and I talked about this, and he believes 16 would have been great. I talked about a video that I did where you'll see, guys, that I talked about my college football, how I would change it. And I said 20 teams, 2 teams from each best conference. But there's a big problem with that conference play, for example. And I will show you what I'm talking about momentarily about conference concerns if everyone got rid of their divisions and went to conferences. So with that being said, the Rose Bowl has agreed. So as early as of 2024 to 2025, we will be getting the 12-team expansion. Unfortunately, though, I think it's only the first round that a team, the higher seed, gets to play in their home stadium. So last year, if Michigan, which were the 2 seed, they should have played in Michigan. The other thing is that Cincinnati was 13 and 0. They really shouldn't have been 4. But again, they don't look at their record. They look at their resume. And it's always the resume and schedule hold more weight than your record and stuff. So does the conference championship really matter that much? No, Michigan could have lost the conference championship if they wanted to and rest their players and forfeited. But obviously, they wanted to go back to back, because the last time they were 12 and 0, they won a national championship, and it looks like a good omen that they could win one this year. The problem is that every person gets annoyed with the college football playoff because, oh, Alabama should have been in. Why did Ohio State get in? Because they only lost one game. They got blown out. They're 4 because they lost in a home game environment. They played 12 games. They played one game less than TCU. TCU played one game more, so that's why they get to play Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl, and they have to play against big bad boy Georgia. Obviously, Michigan and Georgia, I want them to match up because I think Michigan could possibly defeat them if it's a close game and they go into the second half. But ultimately, the big gist of this is I don't really like the certain conferences, and I'm gonna show you right here, guys, as I share my screen. This is what I'm talking about right here. So, why was I explaining about conferences? Is this? So you got TCU, right? 12-1. This is the problem right here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 teams. And this is the Big 12. I don't know where, unless there's more teams underneath and stuff that I didn't see. But it seems like there's only or I may have counted wrong. Let me count again, guys. I apologize. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I don't know why it's called the Big 12. Two teams have already left. You can't really call it the Big 10 because that's already a thing. And now you have this team and this team leaving. So that's more, now it's the Big 8 and stuff. TCU looks like a good team, but Texas is a good team too and stuff. And this is the problem here because look, you have TCU 12-1. Kansas State, they already beat them in the regular season, but then they had to play each other in the conference championship again. And this is where this is concerning right here. Because look, if you were to take the Big Ten, right, you're going to take the number one team who goes 12-0, right? Forget about the 13-0. Let's just say they go 12-0. And then you have Ohio State at 11-1 as the final game of the season. The conference is going to be messed up because then you have Michigan and Ohio State play each other again. And it doesn't work. And, that's that. And the same thing can be said about the Pac-12. Look, USC, I don't know why USC and Washington didn't play each other. For some odd reason, Utah did, which was kind of weird for me. I don't understand why Utah played, as Utah was 10-3, or Washington was 10-2. So I don't know why Washington and USC didn't play in the Pac-12 championship, but it is the way it is. So again, look, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12 teams. But now you're going to take USC and UCLA. Now it's the Pac-10 again. So the other concern about this is you have these teams who are 10-2 and they can get into the college football playoff. But then you have teams like TCU where it's like they're one-hit wonder. So the 12-team expansion is definitely going to help teams because they'll have that recruit. But again, look, if I go to Southern Eastern here, right? And let's just take, obviously, this whole entire West out of it and East out of it. You're going to have, now granted, obviously Bama and Georgia did not play each other in the I don't know why LSU won the West or something. I'm not really too sure. They're below. I think it's because they beat Bama, and that's why they were able to jump into the SEC championship. But it was kind of weird to think Alabama and Georgia should have played each other. But it is what it is. No, but see, this is my point. So if you had these three teams or these four teams, it would be Georgia 1, Tennessee 2, Alabama 3 and LSU, or I'm sorry, Alabama 4 and LSU 3, depending on, who won it and stuff, depending on that. And then Georgia and Tennessee would have to play each other again. And that's a big problem because of the fact that you have this conference championship problem where you already played each other and now you got to play each other again. And it sucks because that's where I explained in my video where I said take the two best teams from each conference and maybe get rid of the conference championship aspect. Michigan has 44 titles now and stuff. But to be fair, it is what it is. Now, everyone keeps saying the SEC is the best conference in all of football and stuff. Yeah, except you suck in basketball. Okay, that's the Big Ten. The Big Ten has basketball wrapped around their finger by bringing in more teams and stuff. And, it used to be 64, then it became 68, and, they moved it up. Now, here's the thing. I talked about this with my cousin, and I don't disagree with what he said. He can take a big strain, you get cramped up, it's hot, you sweating, you red face, stroke, whatever, and stuff. But from my understanding, I think it's I've played in cold weather all the time with my friends and stuff. I've played beach football with my friends in the summertime when I've gone to a beach and stuff, not in full pads, obviously. I've never played like that. I've played in street clothes, two-man touch or flag football, and my friends once in a while we've played tackle without pads for the turkey bowl and stuff for Thanksgiving. But the point is that from my understanding, I think it's tougher to play in colder weather. In warm weather, your muscles don't cramp up as much, and in colder weather, your muscles are get cramped and tighten and stuff, and you have a higher chance of injuring your knees and stuff. Look at Blake Corum, right? He's in one where he got injured and had to have MCL, or I believe it's meniscus he has to get surgery on, something like that. And he got banged up in a cold weather because, wear and tear in cold weather is tougher. That's just my understanding, what I've seen from games and stuff. The SEC say they're the best. Yeah, but you play in warm weather all the time. Put Bama or Georgia. Now, Georgia does play in cold weather, but they play inside, so it doesn't really matter to them because I think they don't even have a stadium. I don't think even University of Miami have a stadium. Those are probably two teams that I know don't have stadiums, and they have to play in NFL stadiums just to accommodate it, which is kind of sad in a way. It's like you can't build your own stadium and stuff. You can't have a stadium at your school. What the heck is wrong with you? But I digress. The point is that if you were to bring, and look, yes, Michigan has to play in an indoor environment when they play the Big Ten championship and stuff, and they'll play in a warm environment in Arizona. And TCU is normal to that Texas environment and stuff. But, Texas can get cold at times as well. The point is that if you were to bring a Southern team to the eastern coast of up east and stuff, up north in Ohio, Penn State, Michigan State, Michigan, Rutgers in New Jersey, and any of those environments, Wisconsin in a really close up to Canada, they are right against Canada, and you were to play in a snowy or cold, rainy environment, depending on what day it is, or just cold, windy and stuff, probably 90% of the time, the SEC schools would lose to the Big Ten schools. I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel, guys. I'm not trying to disrespect your SEC bias or fans or whatever and stuff. You guys want to say you're the best, but you've only been relevant for 8 years. You haven't been relevant prior to that, and I'm going to explain that right here, guys. But those are my thoughts so far. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about what I think will happen in the 12-team college football experience. Now, I did talk about this in a basketball where 9 teams do make it from the Big Ten in my dominance video and explain that. So here it is, 12-team college football playoff. Who will reign supreme in 2024? And now I do not mean the national championship. I mean who will get into the playoffs. As of right now, I think there would be 3 or 4 Big Ten teams potentially in, depending on where they are. Now, you saw those 3 were Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. I said Michigan State. I meant Michigan. So we could have got 3 of those. We could have got 3 SEC schools. We possibly could have got Clemson. I think Clemson, though, might be leaving. Notre Dame might be leaving as well. Notre Dame, I think, finished really well. So I think Notre Dame could, in fact, make a playoff. But I think they really need to join a conference and stuff to get some more respect there, because it seems by playing independent, I don't know. I mean, last year they did. They were the 5th seed and stuff, and they could have sneaked in, but it is what it is. So here we go, guys. Who will reign supreme? The Big Ten will become, this is just my opinion, guys. The Big Ten will become the most dominant conference once again. The SEC has only been good for 8 years since the 14 format. Prior to that, it was the Big Ten teams who ruled. Just look at the 80s and 90s and prior to 2014. There are a lot of Big Ten wins. You had your time in the sun. Your time is ticking. There's only one SEC school in this playoffs, and that's Georgia. Your time's ticking, Nick Saban. You're over. I say that every year, but somehow he comes back and stuff. And, everyone says that to Michigan. They come back into March Madness and do well and stuff. But I think their time is definitely ticking, and it's going off the rocker. And I think there will only be like 1 or 2 SEC schools from now on. So Yeah. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of Big Ten wins. So I believe just like basketball, there will be more Big Ten teams than any other conference, as long as they are not biased towards the SEC or ACC, which I don't really think will happen anymore because they can't deny multiple Big Ten teams forever. Just look at this year. They didn't deny it. They got Ohio State and Michigan in. Last year, there was two SEC teams, so I don't see why as early as of 2024. Well, this is before I knew this. As early 2024, we would see maybe two, but I predict at least 4 or 5 Big Ten teams in the playoffs. Let me know what your thoughts are. But personally, I think by seeing two in this year, it's already higher my expectations from them not being biased. I mean, I would have been nice to see one school from 4 of the best divisions or conferences that we had this year, which were, you know, um, Georgia, SEC school, Big Ten school, Michigan, Pac-12, USC, Big 12, TCU. Well, Big 10, if you want to call it that. I mean, we're really the Big 16 in 2023 or 2024, whenever it comes out. But I was hoping that if we did get a USC, I was hoping USC could be the 3 seed somehow, because I really wanted to see a JJ McCarthy versus Caleb Williams matchup and stuff. I think it'd be kind of cool because they're two really good quarterbacks who have really good wheels underneath them, and then they also have a really good arm underneath them. But let me know your thoughts on the 12-team college football playoff, guys. What do you think? Do you think that what I said is somewhat accurate, or do you think what I said is wrong about Big Ten schools not able to beat SEC schools in their home environment? Do you think that if Michigan last year had the chance to play Georgia in Ann Arbor, they would have shell shocked them and won? Do you think that if there were more Michigan fans also in Miami, that doesn't really matter. That's just some craziness that I have. But do you think if there were more Michigan fans as well, it would have helped them a little bit and given them a little more confidence? Honestly, I think that the reason Michigan hadn't, wasn't ready for it was because they haven't played in an environment like that. Now, I believe in 2013 or 2014, I want to say 2013 or 20, no, maybe it was 2012. I don't remember. No, maybe I'm pretty sure it was 2012. I don't know. You guys will have to look it up. I know it's in the video game and stuff when you play Dynasty, but I think there was one year where Michigan did play Alabama or something, or it was the earlier years. I know Tom Brady beat them in 1997 or 1996, or roughly around one of those years, and won them a national championship in the Rose Bowl because that was the days of the national championship. Yes, it was much easier to win national championships in the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s and stuff because of the BCS format. Once the 4-team format came out and made it more like an NFL format where you would have the team and stuff, that is really where, that is really when Alabama won their first national championship. The 2009 one, now I don't hate the 4-team format, but I'm really happy that the 12-team format is coming out. But it took them 10 years for it to come out. I was like, bro, you gotta take 10 years to make a college football playoff to 12 teams. What? You couldn't do 16, you couldn't do 12, you had to do 4 in 2014. What happened? The other thing is that I'm sorry anyone who is a fan of ESPN. I do not like ESPN commentators one bit. I love Gus Johnson and I love Joe Klatt. They are two of my favorite commentators. They are two of the most fun, entertaining commentators, regardless if Gus Johnson ever does basketball, regardless if he does football, Joe Klatt, any game. It doesn't matter if it's a Michigan game or Ohio State game, a Penn State game, any Fox game that they cover. It's just exciting when Gus Johnson says stuff, down the sideline. They can't catch him. Will they catch Donovan Edwards? No, they will not. And, you just get some of these crazy things. Blake the Great, blazing speed, going down the sideline, all of these crazy quotes. Whoa, you had barbecue back there and you didn't invite me? Hurt my feelings. I love when he says that stuff. And to kind of bring in the point, I'm hoping that by them delaying the NCAA 24 video game for it to come out in 2024 to make it NCAA 2025, I'm hoping that maybe they can get more commentators and actually get Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt to come into the game and stuff. But other than that, guys, I'm really happy that the 12-team expansion is expanding. Hopefully we get teams where it's not just ESPN covering every single game and stuff, and, other partnerships like NBC, ABC, CBS. CBS is sponsored with the SEC. Fox is sponsored with the Big Ten. I think ABC is sponsored with ESPN, so we could get ESPN commentators on that one, depending on whoever gets sponsored. But it would be nice to see, just not all the games on one channel for once, just like we see it in March Madness. But those are my thoughts on the 12-team college football playoff expansion. Let me know your thoughts on everything. And yeah, so until next time, guys, don't forget to stay radical. I'll see you in the next one.